Hello, everybody in the internet worlds. There are too many places to name, so I just fucking cleverly, very quickly put it all together into a new word that barely made sense. That's what you get here. I'm just crossing my legs real fast in jeans that are too tight for it. So here we go. Oh, all right. Whew. Thanks for being here. Take a look at this in the corner and do the things that it tells you to do. I even made it dance. You know how fucking long that took? All right. Thanks for being here. Is this the new Ironheart heavyweight, ultra heavy check flannel thing? The answer is yes. Here are some reasons they're cool. Ready? Here's reason number one. You can do that as many times as you want, and the fucking buttons don't ever come apart. They're the snap pearl buttons, but so high quality. This company makes the greatest fucking flannels of all time. And I would know. I grew up in Los Angeles where it's always freezing. No, we. I remember flannels became like wearing them like this, where you were like, you only would button this part here, and you'd pretend you were a fucking yes. There was a lot. We're 13. Bitch. Pretend like we're fucking thugs and shit. Because we grew up adjacent to the, where all the fucking 90s films about gangs took place. I was very careful to say films about them because in real life, Compton and South Central were just fucking crawling with gangsters everywhere. But yeah, these fucking flannels, we'd get them at like Miller's Outpost, what became like Anchor Blue. And you'd fucking, what's up, essay? There'd be so much. And like, I didn't do that. I was a fucking loser in school, so I didn't do any of that shit. But I remember like we had like a pretty sizable Hispanic population. Where I grew up in the suburbs, it was like majority white, and a lot of it was like the white flight that left the Hollywood, Los Angeles proper, and moved up to the suburbs. Then a lot of Korean families, a lot of Armenian families, one Lebanese family, and but a lot of Mexican households, and all the kids were we were all living in the suburbs. And but for some I say my fucking second cousin's third uncle is a crip fool, or whatever. And if you were young enough and a kid mad dogged you hard, you kind of believed it. You were like, fuck, dude, Jason's uncle, little Pepe, or whatever the fuck, what were they call him? That I was like big tiny. You're like, why is that his name? Because he's big, but they call him tiny because, I don't know. They never had a fucking good reason why they gave him those names. But it was always like, dude, he's a fucking thug and he's done jail time. And then like you meet the guy and, maybe he's, scary because he has like, half of this much facial hair just here. So you're like, dude, he's a fucking adult and he's been to jail. Then you fast forward and then you're like 23, not even that into adulthood. And you look back, you're like, that fucking little Pepe guy, that guy was fucking not even my age now. 23. He was like 20 and he went to juvie for a month or whatever. But, the game of telephone starts, which I don't know if there's a 2021 version of that because no one has telephone anymore. But yeah, you look back and those guys they were not gangsters. They were not. Because the gangsters weren't hanging out in the fucking suburbs. You know where they were? ganging it up somewhere in Gangville. Where fuck the real shit goes down. Which back then in the 90s was um where all the hip neighborhoods, Echo Park, Glass Hill Park, Eagle Rock, parts of Silver Lake, even downtown, like areas where there's a fucking yoga studio and like a $17 spirulina spinach date shake. That's where you were going to get weed and trying to not get shot when you were my age, 14, 13, 14, 15. um yeah, we never even saw real gangsters. I remember this one kid, this fucking idiot. His I don't know if I've told this story on a podcast ever, but um his name was like Victor, and he was fucking, I don't know. He said he was like, you know, Puerto Rican and black, or like Mexican and something. I don't know what it was. But he was raised in Compton or South Central, he said, and he moved to the suburbs where we were because he got thrown out of high school, or I'm sorry, junior high, for being a fucking gangster, bro. And he was living with his dad, who was also a fucking essay, bro. And he had to move here, and we were like, whoa, man, this guy's the real fucking deal. But he was like 5'1" and just fucking the scrawniest, like, like little and he just had nothing on him. The only thing he had to threaten us with were his stories, and we just kind of believed it because we were 12. We didn't know. And he just came hard with his fucking flannels, bro. He had that whole deal. And he would always like be threatening, but not physically. It was always verbally. But we never, when you sort of like start to watch someone's story fall apart, and you're like, this guy's not ever doing anything. He's only just saying stuff. And we're like, does anyone know anyone that knows that he's from there or has like gang ties or any of this? And then when it all fell apart was the day we saw his mom pick him up from school. When anyone's mom, if you're like a thug, you're just like, fuck you, mom, I'll fucking stab you, bitch. Like you're that guy. You're not getting picked up by your mom. I fucking slashed her tires so she wouldn't pick me up. Like that. So his fucking mom picks him up in a Corvette. I didn't fucking know anyone with a Corvette. No one we knew had. It was a middle class suburb. His fucking mom rolls up in a Corvette, and he has to get in, and he's like, fucking see you tomorrow. And then gets into his mom's Corvette, and she drives up, which we later find out she's a fucking lawyer or some shit. And we're like, dude, is this guy really? Maybe his mom just fucking dated some loser, had the kid, then she was like, I'm gonna go make something of myself, and maybe his dad was just a loser, and then he came to live with her. But whatever the reality was, his story fell apart, and we were like, we're not scared of this guy anymore. He's like smaller than the rest of us. He's never actually physically done anything to anybody, and he kind of started to notice it, and then he had to step up the attitude a little more. And then stories like, I shot a guy sort of started to float around, and we're like, man, what did he shoot a guy? Or did his mom get him a super soaker for Christmas? Like we started doing that to him. But he still like had something about him where we're like, we ultimately don't know. And the day I figured it out for myself, at least, was because I had a really bad temper when I was a kid, and I didn't have like a lot of friends, and I got picked on, and I wouldn't really do anything about it. And a lot of times no one would do anything to me about it because I was always like a lot bigger than people, even though it was kind of the inverse of what Victor had. He was small and had like, a way with words and sounded threatening. I was like big, but didn't really say much or threaten it. So no one kind of knew. No one knew with him because you're like, his words are preceding him. But with me, they were like, well, he is big. Who fucking knows? but neither of us had shit. So one day, those two things came to a head, and we kind of had to figure out what to do: walk away or fight each other or what. We're at the arcade, and he wanted to he never had fucking money, and we're always like, dude, your goddamn mom has a fucking Corvette, have her give you some money. And he's like, my mom doesn't fucking give me shit, bro. I don't even want to be living with her, 5 minutes later, she picks him up. "Oh, see you guys." um and we're like, come on, man, just drop the facade or whatever. So then he'd get all tough on everybody, and he was like, give me a fucking dollar, I'll fuck you up. I'm like, I'm not giving you a dollar. And then he talked me down to like, let me borrow 50 cents or something. So I let him borrow 50 cents. And then a couple days later, I let him borrow like another quarter. And then it added up to like $1.50 or like something like that. And a week goes by and he doesn't pay me back. And then I'm like, hey man, you owe me money. He's like, whatever, bro. I'm like, what do you mean whatever? You owe me money. I want my money. And he didn't want to give it to me, but without saying so, he's like, yeah, ha, ha, ha. I'd like laugh it off, or oh, next week. And then I just started getting so fucking mad because I'm like, I don't even have any money really. And I'm letting this guy borrow it because for a minute I feared him, and now I just want it back. And I just started, the fucking rage just started building. And I was like, dude, you better fucking give me my money back, or else, you just throw out this or else, and you're like, oh, that just left my mouth. What am I gonna do? Oh, and then he was like, or else what? And I was like, I just fucking want it back, dude. I don't want any problems. Just give me my fucking money. And I leave, and he follows me home. And his house was like, way further up one of the main streets. So it's kind of on the way. And I'm like, leave me alone. I don't want to hang out. And he follows me home. And I was like, shit, I don't want him to know where I live. Because what if he has a cousin who's actually, fucking SA, or his dad or whatever shows up. Meanwhile, his mom would probably just show up with a fucking cease and desist, leave my son alone or some shit. So he follows me home. And then I don't know what got into him, but then he thought it would be a good idea to like make fun of the fact that I was asking him for my money. And he's like, yeah, I'm never giving you your money back. Dude, what are you going to do? Make me give it to you? And I was like sitting out on the front, like in the front yard. And I was just like, I just started feeling the fucking rage just build inside of me. And my mom came to the door and she's like, Nick, what are you doing? And I was like, just, I'll be in a minute. And she's like, what's going on? And then for some reason he thought like, oh, his mom is out here now, so I can say and do what I want. What's he going to do? He's going to do something in front of his own mom? It's weird because he didn't think I shouldn't say something because someone's mother is present. So he steps it up a notch, like, you ain't getting your fucking money back. Fuck you fucking bitch, and then other words that are no longer PC that I'm not going to say. And I just kind of fucking it just like went black. And I was like, and I just found myself like walking into the backyard. And, my dad works in construction and stuff. So there's just tools lying around, or there were just kind of here and there. And I went black. And then I went to the backyard. And I remember for some reason, maybe my brother and I were like playing with it or something, but there was a crowbar in the backyard. And I remember going, I have to get the crowbar and I'll show him. I remember just saying that to myself. And I went and grabbed it. And it was like a big fucking crowbar. And I walked back out front and he looks and he's like, what's that? What the fuck are you going to do? And I was like, give me my money. And he's like, whoa. And I was like, fuck you. I just started screaming. And my mom was like, Nick, what are you doing? And I'm like, he owes me 75 cents or whatever insignificant amount of money it was. And she's like, stop. And he was like, dude, bro, what the fuck? And he just starts booking it down the street. And here's me just chasing him with a crowbar. I'll fucking kill you. And in that moment, I thought I would kill him. I was like, I'm gonna fucking kill this guy. I'm 13. I'm ready to end it. Like, I'll end him and then I'll go to jail. I've decided. So I get about 5 or 6 houses down, and then I hear him say, just through the fucking, that's just like fucking going through my mind and out of my mouth. Just, I hear him going, okay, okay, I'll give your money back. And I was like, and then he reaches into his pocket, and then he fucking had the money on him. And I just took it, and he was like, bro, that was crazy. You're fucking insane. And I was like, I just wanted my fucking money. Don't take anything from me without saying you're going to give it back and then actually do it. And then we kind of were quiet on the walk back. We got all the way back to my house. And my mom was like, what's wrong with you? Have you lost your mind? What are you doing? She was more worried about what are the neighbors going to think, which, ultimately she's right. I wonder what the fuck they were thinking. Like, oh, that lady's kid is being insane again. But I told her, I was like, he borrowed money from me and he wouldn't give it back. And she's like, yeah, but what are you going to kill him? I'm like, yeah, I was going to kill him. And she was like, and then he is like standing a few feet back, like near the end of the driveway. And he's just like, he didn't know what to do. And I looked back at him in that moment, and he just felt like, for the first time, I saw that he was like out of sorts, and just like he didn't have this like fucking confidence, he was more like just this like, what do I do now? He just like, he lost a little bit of that, like that shell that he had built. But then at the same time, I felt like I had a little, maybe I was buttoning it up a little. Maybe I'm a fucking essay now, bro. I fucking felt a little bit of that lie transferring from him to me, felt pretty good. I got grounded for the rest of that day a little bit. I felt so good about it. And my mom was like, yeah, so you're not allowed to go anywhere for the rest of the day on account of you just tried to kill a fucking kid. What are you doing? And in my mind, though, it made so much sense that I was like, I had to chase him down the street with a crowbar because he wouldn't give me 75 cents. And then in the end, I got it. So who was right? Jury's out, maybe. They wouldn't have been out if that went to trial. I would have been in jail. But yeah, man, I remember like that was a little bit of a confidence booster. And I never like followed through on anything like that again, though. I think those are those like, you have those moments when you're in your formative years where you're like, I could do nothing and just live that life, or I could like take a stand for myself but really go off in that other direction where now I'm like this Victor kid, I'm threatening people, or I'm actually the guy that's like running around fighting everyone. I didn't do any of it really, but it really helped me sort of go, I'm going to stand up for myself more, I think, and not really take it to that level where I'm chasing someone down the street with a crowbar. But, and, I don't think like through high school, I had anything that got to moments like that, but I remember letting my fucking rage out a few times and like it feeling good, and it kind of, people would like step back a little bit and go, oh, okay, maybe we can't keep poking them, because I was like, I was bigger than a lot of people, but it always took more than that growing up. Like, even if you were bigger, it was just like, but what's his social standing? Like that kid Victor was way smaller, but he had this social standing that he like imported from somewhere else, and it all broke down and turned to be a lie, which is what most of us are doing growing up, is just cobbling together a bunch of lies and hoping it works. And then, it sort of all falls away, and you hopefully figure out some kind of truth within inside you, and you become, an honest version of yourself. But every once in a while I think about that story when I do want to just go like, I have been wronged. Someone's trying to take something from me. I must exact revenge, and go, but you don't want to wake up. You don't want to come to in the middle of that. And I'm like, oh, I'm chasing a guy down the street with a fucking folding chair or like a, a 2x4. Um, but yeah, so anyway, these flannels are really cool. And that was my commercial for this Ironheart flannel. But it does make you feel like, because they're very heavyweight, and you just feel like, you just feel a little more like secure and confident. Plus the color scheme. I mean, look at this fucking colorway. I love it. My notes for today were the same ones I wrote down for the last Instagram post. That's it. I wrote that a couple days ago as like I was like, oh, I gotta come up with some stuff to talk about for the podcast, and then I just wrote that, and then I took a picture of it and Instagrammed it, and then I forgot to actually write anything down, and then I opened it up today, and I was like, I'm a fucking stupid. And what's also dumb is I was originally gonna talk about like how much fucking caffeine I've been drinking lately, and I'm having this like realization that I might be having too much, and it really makes me sad because I love just sipping on coffee all day because I don't do anything else. I'm totally sober, and not like fucking LA sober or like the kind of sober people are mentioning now where they go, oh yeah, I'm sober, but then they like do mushrooms and smoke weed and do ayahuasca and like all. It's like that's not sober. And this isn't coming from an AA. I don't do any of that, but I know what the fucking definition of the word sober is. What is wrong with you people? Like, just say you don't drink. Don't say, oh, I'm sober. Because you know what that fucking entails. You know the meaning people receive. You say that and they receive, oh, total sobriety from all mind altering substances. So quit fucking lying to people. Just say, I don't drink. That's it. And they go, oh, you want to get high? And then you go, yeah, I'm sure. It's fucking sober bullshit. And then you do 6 drugs. Anyway, I don't even know what too much coffee even is really, but point being, I don't have a problem and I can quit whenever the fuck I want. I do need to scale back. I'm at like 1 espresso, I mean like minutes after I wake up, because I have one of those like hand powered fucking like espresso machines, and then I'll have like 2 or 3 like cups, and I make it all at home, so it's not like it costs money or anything, not like extra money. um but yeah, sometimes you make it stronger and I just feel like and sometimes I think it's anxiety, and I think I'm in denial because, again, I guess technically I'm lying too because coffee's a drug and I'm sort of in denial about it. But at least it's a productive one. I've never coffeed my way into a jail cell. I've never coffeed my way into destroying a relationship. Dude, why'd you guys break up? I just was fucking pounding espressos every morning, man. Every morning. And she couldn't take it anymore. I was just fucking reading the paper too fast. I was finishing crosswords too quickly. But I got to pump the brakes on it, dude. But yeah, you can get this flannel at, I got it at Self Edge. My favorite clothing place in the world. Okay. I will, I'll see you tomorrow.